I knew shit was absolutely, irrevocably fucked when my Slack notification pinged at 4:47 p.m. on a Friday. You know the sound. That cheerful, hollow knock brush noise that usually means someone broke the coffee machine or wants to know if there's leftover cake in the break room. But this wasn't cake. This was a digital grenade with the pin pulled out, tossed into my lap by a 20-something named Braden who thinks Data Integrity is a band he saw at Coachella. I'm Elizabeth. I'm the senior compliance analyst at a mid-sized tech firm that pivots its strategy more often than a teenager on Adderall. I've been here for 12 years. I'm part of the furniture. Actually, I'm more essential than the furniture. I'm the load-bearing wall that keeps the ceiling from collapsing on these idiots. I don't have a tick-tock. I don't circle back. I fix the mess when the sales team promises illegal features to clients in Dubai. I'm the janitor of the digital world, mopping up liability with a bucket full of Excel macros and a pack of Marlboro lights waiting for me in my glove box. So, the ping. I looked at my second monitor, the one covered in a layer of dust because nobody touches my setup. It was a forwarded thread. Braden, the new growth hacker, a title that means absolutely nothing and everything all at once, had meant to send it to Kyle, my manager. Kyle is 32, wears vests that are too tight, and has a smile that doesn't reach his dead, shark-like eyes. He's been trying to push me out since he got hired 6 months ago because I asked questions like, is this legal? And do you want to go to prison? The message from Braden read, Yo Kyle, draft is done. We're gonna toast the dragon lady at the holiday party. Slide deck attached. The inefficiency of legacy employees. It paints her as the bottleneck for the Q3 miss. VP is gonna be there, right? This is the kill shot. She won't even know what hit her until we're clinking glasses. My stomach dropped. It felt like I'd swallowed a bag of ice cubes, the dragon lady. Creative. I haven't heard that one since the last manager who tried to fire me. He's currently working at a car wash in Toledo, by the way. But that's a story for another time. I stared at the screen. My heart wasn't racing. It was doing that slow, heavy thudding you get before a car crash. I clicked the attachment. I shouldn't have access to it, but Braden is the kind of genius who sets permissions to anyone with the link because clicking 2 extra buttons is too much friction for his fragile workflow. The slide deck was a masterpiece of fiction. It was beautiful in a grotesque way. They had charts, they had graphs, they had fabricated timelines showing me blocking critical updates. They accused me of rubber stamping approvals for my favorites while stonewalling the innovators, Reed, Braden, and his frat brothers. They were planning to present this live at the company holiday party next Friday. In front of the new VP of Operations, a guy named Marcus Sterling who has a reputation for cutting dead weight with a machete. They weren't just going to fire me. They were going to publicly humiliate me, destroy my professional reputation, and use my corpse as a stepping stone to get Kyle a director title. I sat there, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like a swarm of angry hornets. The office was emptying out. The bagel crew, Kyle, Braden, and a girl named Tiffany who speaks exclusively in HR buzzwords, were by the elevators laughing. I could see them through the glass walls of my office. Kyle was miming a golf swing. Braden was doing that obnoxious thing where he checks his Apple Watch every 4 seconds. They looked so happy, so confident. They looked like people who had successfully trapped a badger in a corner and were poking it with a stick, completely unaware that the badger was actually a honey badger with a law degree and a grudge. I didn't scream. I didn't run out there and throw my stapler at Braden's stupid haircut. I took a sip of my lukewarm, sludge-like coffee and felt a cold, metallic calm wash over me. This is usually the part in the story where people start crying or calling their mom. Not me. I learned a long time ago that in the corporate world, tears are just lubricant for the machine that eats you. By the way, if you're enjoying watching my life implode in real time, maybe smash that upvote button or follow the page. It's cheaper than therapy for me, and honestly, reading your comments is the only thing keeping me from setting the break room microwave on fire. But seriously, stick around, because I promise you, I'm not going down like a chump. I downloaded the slide deck, and I took a screenshot of the Slack message. Then I pulled the metadata from the file to prove Braden created it on company time, probably while he was supposed to be doing the compliance training I assigned him 3 weeks ago. They wanted to frame me for abusing system access. That's rich. That's like framing a fish for swimming. They forgot one tiny, insignificant detail. I built the access logs. I wrote the code that tracks every keystroke, every permission change, every time someone sneezes near a sensitive server. They thought they were writing a hit piece on me, but they were actually writing their own confessions. I looked at the clock. 5:02 p.m. The elevators dinged, swallowing the bagel crew and taking them down to whatever happy hour hellhole they frequent. I was alone in the office. The air conditioning hummed, a low, mechanical growl that sounded strangely supportive. Okay, boys, I whispered to the empty room, lighting a mental cigarette because actual smoking is frowned upon in this LEED-certified prison. You want a show? I'll give you a show. I opened the terminal on my computer, the black screen with the blinking green cursor. It's the only honest thing in this building. It doesn't lie. It doesn't gaslight, it just executes. I typed in my admin credentials. It was time to go hunting. They wanted to expose my history? Fine. But first, I was going to take a little look at theirs. And unlike them, I didn't need to make anything up. The truth in a corporate server is nastier than anything you can invent. I leaned back in my chair, the cheap ergonomic mesh digging into my spine. I felt a grim smile stretching across my face, the kind that hurts a little. This wasn't just about keeping my job anymore. This was about natural selection. And I was about to become the meteor. Monday morning rolled in with the grace of a garbage truck backing into a dumpster. I walked into the office wearing my standard armor, a charcoal gray cardigan, sensible slacks, and an expression that says, "I am thinking about spreadsheets, please do not perceive me." This is the gray rock method. If you're boring enough, predators lose interest. They want a reaction. They want drama. I gave them nothing but the ambient hum of a server fan. The atmosphere in the office was thick with a kind of manic holiday energy that makes me want to gargle bleach. There was tinsel wrapped around the support pillars. Someone had put a Santa hat on the 3D printer. And there, huddled in the glass-walled conference room affectionately known as the fishbowl, was the clique. Kyle, Braden, Tiffany, and a few other hangers-on were pointing at a whiteboard, laughing. When I walked past, the laughter stopped abruptly, replaced by that performative, hushed seriousness people adopt when the subject of their gossip walks into the room. Kyle waved at me, actually waved, a little finger wiggle that was equal parts condescending and nervous. "Morning, Elizabeth. Excited for the party on Friday?" He chirped, his voice pitching up at the end like he was asking a question he already knew the answer to. "Thrilled, Kyle," I said, not breaking stride. "I'm just hoping the open bar has something strong enough to kill the memory of Q3. He laughed, a dry, rattling sound. "That's the spirit. Hey, keep your schedule clear around 8 p.m., okay? We have a little recognition segment planned. Want to make sure the whole team is there." Recognition segment, that's corporate speak for public execution. I nodded dead-eyed, wouldn't miss it. I made it to my desk, sat down, and immediately plugged in. While they were busy choosing fonts for my tombstone, I was performing a digital colonoscopy on their entire work history. You see, people like Kyle and Braden think the cloud is a magic, fluffy place where data lives. They don't understand that the cloud is just someone else's computer. And right now, I have the keys to the castle. I started with the basics. System access logs. I wanted to see exactly when and how they had accessed the files they claimed I had mishandled. But what I found was messy. It wasn't just that they were incompetent, they were sloppy. Braden's log was a disaster zone. The kid had been logging in from unsecured IP addresses at 2 a.m. Starbucks Wi-Fi? No. I traced the IP. It was a residential address. A luxury apartment complex downtown. But Braden lives in the suburbs with his parents. I know this because he complains about the commute daily. So who lives downtown? I cross-referenced the IP with the employee database. Nothing. Then I ran it against our vendor list. Bingo. It matched the billing address for a third-party consulting firm we use, Apex Solutions, a firm that, coincidentally, Kyle had brought on board 3 months ago to optimize workflow. So, Braden, or someone using Braden's credentials, was logging in from the apartment of an external vendor in the middle of the night. Interesting. Why would a vendor need a junior growth hacker's login? Unless they were bypassing the vendor security protocols I had set up. I kept digging. The office air smelled like stale Keurig coffee and that distinct, ozone scent of overheating electronics. I put on my noise-canceling headphones, playing nothing, just to mute the sound of Tiffany discussing her vision board 3 desks away. I pulled up the change management logs. These are the holy scriptures of IT. Every time code is changed, every time a permission is elevated, it's recorded here, or it should be. The slide deck they prepared claimed I had unilaterally blocked critical updates on November 12th. I went to November 12th in the logs. There was no block. In fact, there was an approval from my account. But wait. I looked at the timestamp, 3:14 a.m. I am a 45-year-old woman with a mortgage and a cat with diabetes. I am asleep at 3:14 a.m. I am not approving code pushes. My blood ran cold, then hot. They hadn't just fabricated the slide deck. They had actually used my account to fake the evidence. Someone had spoofed my credentials to approve a code change that, I checked the ticket details, resulted in a 4-hour outage the next morning. An outage they blamed on legacy system instability. They broke the system, used my name to sign off on it, and were now planning to present the fix as their brilliant innovation while pinning the breakage on me. It was elegant in a sociopathic way. I looked up across the office. Kyle was leaning over Tiffany's desk, pointing at her screen. They looked so normal, just coworkers collaborating, not a cabal of fraudsters. This is the scariest part of corporate betrayal, the banality of it. They don't twirl mustaches. They wear Patagonia vests and drink oat milk lattes while they stab you in the aorta. I needed more than just a timestamp. A timestamp is circumstantial. Maybe you were working late, Elizabeth, they'd say. Maybe you forgot. I needed proof that it wasn't me. And then I remembered the pilot. About 6 months ago, I had quietly deployed a beta version of a new auditing tool I was writing. I called it the Panopticon. It wasn't official yet, wasn't in the release notes. It was running in the background of the kernel, silently recording not just what happened, but where the mouse moved, the typing cadence, the biometric metadata if available. I hadn't checked the Panopticon logs in weeks because it was a side project. My hands trembled slightly as I queried the database for November 12th. The terminal blinked. Data streamed down the screen like the Matrix code, only greener and uglier. User Elizabeth Admin. Action approve request hash 9902. Timestamp 031412. Device ID. I froze. The device ID wasn't my laptop. It wasn't my desktop. It was a MAC address I didn't recognize immediately. But the Panopticon captures something else, Bluetooth handshake data. If a phone or watch is near the computer when an action is taken, the system logs the handshake attempt. At 3:14 a.m., the device approving that request under my name was within 3 feet of an iPhone with the Bluetooth ID, Kyle's iPhone 14 Pro Max. I leaned back, the leather of my chair creaking like an old door. Gotcha. They were so busy looking at the ceiling, trying to drop an anvil on my head, that they forgot to look at the floor where I had rigged the trapdoor. Kyle had logged in as me, probably using a keylogger or a password he sniffed when I was IT helping him with his email, to sabotage the system, just so he could fix it and look like a hero. The rage I felt wasn't the hot, screaming kind anymore. It was cold. It was absolute zero. It was the kind of rage that can wait. I saved the logs. I encrypted them. And then I copied them to a USB drive attached to my keychain. I looked up. Kyle was heading to the break room. He caught my eye and flashed that plastic smile again. Working hard or hardly working? He called out. Just tidying up some loose ends, Kyle, I replied, my voice steady as a surgeon's hand. Just making sure everything is clean for the VP. Great, that's what we like to hear. Team player. He walked away, whistling. I watched him go. He was walking straight into a woodchipper, and he was whistling a Christmas carol. Tuesday and Wednesday were a blur of faux festivity and silent warfare. The office was now fully weaponized with holiday cheer. We're talking aggressively sparkly garlands that shed plastic needles into your keyboard, and a looping playlist of Mariah Carey that I'm pretty sure violates the Geneva Convention. While the bagel crew was busy printing out full-color handouts for their little assassination plot, I was deep in the digital sewers, wading through the sludge of their incompetence. And let me tell you, it was worse than I thought. It wasn't just the sabotage on November 12th. That was just the tip of the iceberg, the visible part meant to sink me. The part below the water, that was pure, unadulterated fraud. I found a folder on the shared drive that had been hidden. Rookie mistake. In Windows, marking a folder as hidden is like putting a towel over an elephant and assuming nobody can see it. Inside, I found the real reason for their desperate need to get rid of me. Backdated compliance forms, dozens of them. See, in our industry, we have strict regulations about data privacy. GDPR, CCPA, SOC 2, acronyms that bore normal people to tears but keep CEOs out of handcuffs. Every time we onboard a new vendor, like, say, Apex Solutions, we need to run a 40-point security audit. It takes weeks. It's a pain in the ass. I am the one who enforces it, which is why everyone hates me. Kyle hadn't just bypassed the audit for Apex Solutions. He had forged it. He had taken an old audit form from a legitimate vendor, used a PDF editor to slap Apex's logo on it, and this is the part that made me actually laugh out loud in my empty office. He had literally copy-pasted my electronic signature onto the bottom. But he was lazy. The pixelation on my signature was different from the rest of the document. It looked like a ransom note made of pixels. Why? Why go to such lengths for Apex Solutions? I followed the money. I accessed the procurement logs. Yes, I have read access to those too. I helped build the database in 2014. Apex Solutions was billing us $15,000 a month for consulting. The invoices were vague. Strategic alignment. Synergy optimization. Bullshit words? I did a little awesome open source intelligence work. I looked up the incorporation documents for Apex Solutions. It's a public record. The registered agent? A woman named Linda K. Miller. I went to Kyle's Facebook page, public profile. Never post your life publicly, kids. I scrolled back 2 years, a photo of Kyle at a barbecue, arm around a woman. Caption, happy birthday to the best mom in the world, Linda. There it was. The smoking, the bloody knife, the receipt for the extra pickles. Kyle was funneling company money to a shell company owned by his mother, approving the invoices himself, and forging my signature on the compliance docs to cover his tracks. If I hadn't looked, if I had just accepted the firing and signed the severance agreement, he would have gotten away with it. He would have been promoted. He would have kept milking the company until it went dry. But he made one mistake. He tried to make me the patsy. Now I had a choice. I could go to HR right now, but HR is useless. HR exists to protect the company, not the employee. If I went to them now, they might panic. They might try to sweep it under the rug to avoid a scandal before the VP settles in. They might fire Kyle, but they'd probably fire me too for unauthorized access just to clean the slate. No, I needed something louder. Needed something undeniable. I needed to let them pull the trigger, only to realize the gun was pointed backward. I went back to the panopticon, my beautiful, silent watcher. I needed to tweak the code. The holiday party presentation was going to be run from the main conference room server. I knew this because Braden had sent a calendar invite to the IT support team requesting high-priority setup for the AV system. I wrote a script. A simple, elegant trick. The script monitored the central display server. It was looking for specific keywords in any file being projected. Keywords like Elizabeth, compliance miss, legacy efficiency, and Q3 bottleneck, all phrases from their slide deck. If the system detected those keywords being projected live, it would execute a command. Command auto-publish. It wouldn't just shut down the projector. That's petty. That's amateur hour. No, my script would take the encrypted packet of evidence I had compiled, the logs of Kyle using my account, the Bluetooth handshake, the forged PDFs, the invoices to his mom's shell company, and it would instantly email them. To who? 1. The general counsel, legal. 2. The head of HR. 3. The external auditors who were terrifying. 4. And finally, Marcus Sterling, the new VP of Operations. Subject line, automated audit alert. Internal fraud detected level 1 severity. I tested the script in a sandbox environment. It worked perfectly. It was a digital claymore mine. All they had to do was walk into the room and start their presentation. The moment they put my name on that screen to shame me, they would digitally decapitate themselves. I sat back, rubbing my temples, my eyes burned. I hadn't slept properly in 3 days. I felt like a ghost haunting my own life. I looked at the calendar. Friday, 48 hours to go. I could stop this. I could walk into Kyle's office, slap the evidence on his desk, and watch him crumble. It would be cleaner, safer, but then I remembered the way he smirked. The way he called me Dragon Lady. The way they laughed in the fishbowl while plotting to destroy 12 years of my hard work. No, scorched earth, salt the fields. I saved the script. I named it Justice EXE. Okay, I actually named it System Integrity Monitor V2. Pi because I'm a professional, but in my head, it was Justice EXE. I packed up my bag. It was late. The cleaning crew was vacuuming the hallway, the drone of the machine echoing in the empty corridors. I gave a nod to Maria, the night cleaner. She's the only other person in this building who knows what it's like to clean up other people's messes for a living. Late night, Elizabeth. She asked. Yeah, Maria, I said, buttoning my coat. Just setting a mousetrap. She laughed. Hope you catch a big one. Oh, I said, stepping into the elevator. I think I'm going to catch the whole nest. Friday arrived with the grim inevitability of a tax audit. The office was vibrating. Literally. Someone had brought in a massive Bluetooth speaker and was blasting Jingle Bell Rock at a volume that made the water in my Nalgene bottle ripple like that scene in Jurassic Park. The bagel crew was in rare form. They were dressed in what I call business festive. Kyle was wearing a velvet blazer that looked like it was made from the upholstery of a 1970s pimp's Cadillac. Tiffany had reindeer antlers on. Braden was wearing a sweater that said gangster rapper with a picture of Santa in sunglasses. It took every ounce of my willpower not to vomit into my wastebasket. I spent the day doing absolutely nothing. I moved my mouse occasionally to keep my status as active, but mostly I just stared at the wall, visualizing the code I had planted. It was buried deep in the root directory of the presentation server, sleeping, waiting for the magic words. Around 2 p.m., a shadow fell across my desk. It was Sam, a junior developer I had mentored a few years back. Sam is a good kid, quiet, writes clean code, doesn't play politics. He looked nervous, shifting his weight from foot to foot. Hey, Elizabeth, he mumbled, looking over his shoulder to make sure Kyle wasn't watching. Hey, Sam, what's up? Server crash? No, he licked his lips. Listen, I shouldn't be telling you this, but I saw the run of show for tonight, for the party. I kept my face perfectly still. Oh, am I winning a raffle? Sam looked pained. Elizabeth, please, don't go, just get sick, have a family emergency. Whatever, they're planning something bad. Kyle has this whole segment about new era vs old guard. He's going to use you as the example of what's wrong with the company. It's going to be brutal. The VP is going to be sitting front row. My heart softened a fraction of an inch for Sam. He was risking his own standing with the cool kids to warn me. Sam, I said gently, thank you. I really appreciate that. Seriously, so you won't go? I smiled. It was a genuine smile this time, but it wasn't a happy one. Oh, I'm not going to be in the room, Sam, but don't worry, I'll be watching. He looked confused, but the elevator dinged and Kyle stepped out, so Sam scurried away like a frightened rabbit. At 4:30 p.m., the office began to clear out as people went home to change for the party, which was being held at a swanky hotel ballroom downtown. The company was bleeding money, laying off support staff, but sure, let's spend 50 grand on shrimp cocktails and an ice sculpture. I packed my things. I took my framed photo of my cat. I took my lucky stapler. I took my spare cardigan. It felt like packing for a long trip or maybe clearing out a desk for the last time. In a way, it was. When I walked back in here on Monday, everything would be different. The landscape would be cratered. I walked past Kyle's office one last time. His computer was locked, but his whiteboard was covered in buzzwords. Synergy, disruption, paradigm shift. Goodbye, Kyle, I whispered. Hope you like the taste of ashes. I drove home in silence. No radio, just the hum of the tires on the asphalt. I stopped at the liquor store on the corner of 5th and Main. I bought a bottle of Cabernet, not the cheap stuff I usually buy for Tuesday. I bought the $40 bottle, the celebration wine. My apartment was quiet. My cat Buster greeted me with an indifferent meow, demanding food. I fed him, changed into my sweatpants, the universal uniform of the depressed but comfortable, and set up my command center on the kitchen table. Laptop open. VPN connected, 2 monitors. Left monitor, the internal Slack channels which would light up the moment things went wrong. Right monitor, the terminal window running a remote tail on the server logs. I poured a glass of wine. It was dark purple, heavy, and smelled like plums and oak. I took a sip, it was delicious. The clock read 7:45 p.m. The party was starting, I could see the chatter on Slack. Selfies were being posted, people with cocktails, the VP Marcus Sterling looking dapper and slightly bored in a tuxedo. Kyle was posting photos of the stage, caption, "Big night ahead, time to trim the fat and lean into the future." #growth mindset, I snorted. Trim the fat. Careful, Kyle. Might cut your own throat. I checked the trigger script. Status, active. Listening, my pulse was steady. 60 beats per minute. I wasn't nervous anymore. I was the sniper on the hill, waiting for the target to walk into the crosshairs. The distance made it easier. I wouldn't have to see his face crumble. I wouldn't have to hear the awkward silence. I would just see lines of code. Input, presentation, load PPTX status, buffered. They were loading the deck. I took another sip of wine. Here we go, I said to the cat. Buster licked his paw, unimpressed. The digital curtain was about to rise, and the play was going to be a tragedy. 8:14 p.m. The Slack channel #general was popping off. Photos of the appetizers, someone complaining about the DJ. A blurry photo of Braden doing a shot with the caption "Liquid Courage." He was going to need it. On my right monitor, the terminal text was scrolling slowly. System check, okay. Audio output, active. Projector status, on. I could visualize the room. The hotel ballroom. The round tables with white tablecloths, the dim lighting, the smell of expensive perfume and cheap ambition. Marcus Sterling, the VP, would be sitting at the center table, flanked by the other executives. Kyle would be backstage, adjusting his mic, sweating in that velvet blazer, rehearsing his opening line about how tough choices make strong companies. 8:17 p.m. Terminal flickered. File open. Q3 retrospective final V3. PPTX, here we go. I leaned forward, my elbows on the kitchen table. The house was silent except for the refrigerator humming. It felt like the moments before a thunderstorm breaks when the air gets heavy and static charged. I imagined Kyle walking onto the stage. The applause, polite, scattered. He'd start with some jokes, who's ready for the holidays? Then he'd pivot. He'd get serious. He'd bring up the Q3 numbers, the missed targets, and then he'd point the finger. 8:21 p.m. Terminal, slide advance, 1, 2, 3, he was going through the intro. Fluff, filler, terminal, slide 4, current challenges, getting warmer. Terminal, slide 5, the bottleneck, my breath hitched, this was it. This was the slide where they had my name, or at least my title. Terminal, OCR scan initiated, text detected. Legacy systems and personnel, text detected. Elizabeth redacted, compliance hold rate, text detected. Efficiency mismatch found. The words on my screen turned from green to red. Trigger condition met. Executing, just to see it happened in less than a second. A millisecond. Faster than a synapse firing in a human brain. The script woke up. It grabbed the payload, the zip file containing the spoofed logs, the Bluetooth handshake, the forged compliance PDFs, the shell company invoices. Compiling email attachments added. Recipients, legal at CompanyCom, HR director at CompanyCom, audit external at FirmCom, M. Sterling at CompanyCom. Sending sent. I sat back, exhaling a breath I didn't know I was holding. It was done. The missiles were in the air, but the script wasn't finished. I had added a little theatrical flourish. A part B to the script. Action override display. On the screen in the ballroom, the PowerPoint presentation froze. I knew this because the server log showed a display driver interrupt. I wasn't there, but I knew exactly what was happening. Kyle would be clicking his clicker, nothing happening. He'd look back at the screen, he'd chuckle nervously. Technical difficulties, folks. Irony, right? Then my script took over the projector feed. It didn't display my evidence, that would be too messy, too public. I didn't want the receptionists and the sales interns to see the legal details. I just wanted the people who mattered to check their inboxes. So the screen simply went black. And then in plain, white Courier new font, a single line of text appeared. System audit triggered. Unauthorized data manipulation detected. Report sent to Legal Compliance Office of the VP. Please stand by. 8:23 p.m. The Slack channel went dead silent. No more photos, no more jokes. Then the typing bubbles appeared. Dozens of them. What is happening? Did the system crash? OMG, look at Kyle's face. I took a long, slow sip of wine. It tasted like victory, like blood and grapes. On the server logs, I saw a frantic flurry of activity. User Kyle Manager attempting to force close application. Access denied. User Kyle Manager attempting to reboot server. access denied, admin lockout in effect. He was mashing buttons. He was panicking. He was realizing that the machine he tried to use to crush me had just woken up and grabbed him by the throat. And somewhere in that room, phones were buzzing. The general counsel's phone, the HR director's phone, and Marcus Sterling's phone. I watched the read receipts on the email server. Opened by M. Sterling at CompanyCom 8:24 p.m. I closed my eyes and let the silence wash over me. I wasn't a victim anymore. I wasn't the dragon lady. I was the inevitable consequence of their own actions. The beauty of a digital trap is that you don't have to be there to hear the snap of the bone. You can feel it through the floorboards. It was 8:28 p.m., 5 minutes since the email went out. The presentation screen in the ballroom was still locked on my message. Please stand by. It's the polite computer way of saying, you are currently being detained. I watched the logs. The frantic energy coming from the IT admin console was palpable. Someone, probably Braden, sweating through his gangster rapper sweater, was trying to access the root directory to kill my script. Login attempt, Braden growth status, rejected, insufficient privileges. Login attempt, Kyle manager status, rejected. Account suspended, audit protocol. That's right, Kyle. As soon as the fraud flag was tripped, your account was auto-locked. It's a standard security feature I implemented 3 years ago. You signed the policy memo. You probably didn't read it. Then came the Hail Mary. System override request initiated. Source, admin console, ballroom. They were trying to do a hard reset. They wanted to unplug the brain of the system to make the message go away. But here's the kicker. A hard reset on a server currently under a level 1 compliance hold requires dual-factor authentication from a C-level executive or a board member. A prompt would be appearing on their screen right now. Fatal error, audit in progress. To abort, please enter authorization code from VP Operations. They had to ask Marcus Sterling for the code to turn off the screen that was accusing them of fraud. I laughed, a harsh, arcing sound that startled the cat. Go ahead, Kyle, ask him. Ask the man you were trying to impress to help you hide the evidence. The Slack channel #IT support blew up. Braden, system frozen. Need bypass codes ASAP. IT night shift, can't do it, man. It's locked by the compliance demon. Only Elizabeth has the keys or the VP. Braden, where's Elizabeth? I swirled my wine. I was right here, Braden. I was in the code. I was in the wires. I was everywhere. At 8:35 p.m., the override request timed out. They had given up trying to hack it. The Slack gossip channel, which I'm not supposed to be in, but come on, I'm the admin, was leaking details like a sieve. The VP just stood up. He looks pissed. Kyle is shaking, like actually shaking. Sterling just walked out with the legal guy. Kyle is following them. This is insane. The music had stopped. The party was effectively over. It had turned from a celebration into a crime scene. My phone sat on the table, screen dark. I knew it was coming, the desperate reach. When the bully realizes he's drowning, he doesn't swim, he grabs the person he tried to dunk. I waited. The server logs showed the presentation file had been quarantined by the legal department's automated bot. The evidence was preserved. The chain of custody was unbroken. 8:42 p.m. My phone lit up. Caller ID Kyle Workcell. I let it ring, once, twice, 3 times, let him sweat. Let him hear the ringtone of his career ending. It went to voicemail. He called again immediately. Caller ID Kyle Workcell. I picked up the glass of wine, took a slow sip, cleared my throat, and pressed the green button. Hello, my voice was calm, casual. Like I was answering a telemarketer I was vaguely interested in listening to. Elizabeth, where are you? Kyle's voice was an octave higher than usual. I could hear the background noise, muffled voices, the clinking of silverware, the heavy silence of a room that knows it's watching a funeral. I'm at home, Kyle. It's Friday night. I didn't want to ruin your recognition segment. Fix it, he screamed. The system is glitched. It's showing some crazy error message. The VP is asking questions. You need to log in and kill it. Right now? Or so help me God, Elizabeth, you're fired. You are done? He was still trying to play the boss. It was pathetic. It was like a man falling off a cliff trying to give orders to gravity. Kyle, I said, my voice dropping an octave, losing the pleasantry. It's not a glitch. What are you talking about? Just clear the screen. Did you check your email, Kyle? I don't have time for email. I'm in the middle of a presentation. You should check it. Specifically the one from the system audit demon. It explains why the screen is locked. There was a pause, a heavy breathing silence. I could hear him fumbling with his phone. What did you do? He whispered. The aggression was leaking out, replaced by pure, unadulterated fear. I didn't do anything, Kyle. The system did it. It detected unauthorized modification of production data. Specifically, it detected that someone backdated compliance forms and routed invoices to a shell company called Apex Solutions. The silence on the other end stretched out. It was heavy enough to crush a diamond. You hacked me, he stammered. That's illegal. I'll have you arrested. I didn't hack you, I corrected him, leaning back in my chair. I audited you. I'm the compliance officer. It's literally my job, and you triggered the audit yourself when you tried to present falsified logs to the VP. Elizabeth listened, his voice cracked. He was bargaining now. Phase 3 of grief. We can fix this. I can explain, we were just moving money around for the budget. It's a misunderstanding. Just turn off the screen. I'll talk to Sterling. I'll tell him it was a system error. We can work this out. I'll get you that raise, I swear. I looked at my fingernails. They were unpolished, short, practical. It's too late, Kyle. No, it's not. Just type in the code. I can't. Why not? Because of who signed the audit log. I took a breath, savoring the moment. Do you look at the signature line on the lockout screen? I don't care about the look at it, Kyle. I heard him shuffle closer to the console. I heard his breath hitch. The signature line on the screen didn't say Elizabeth Admin. It read, Final Approval, Compliance Oversight External Copy Sent to Board of Directors. You see, I said softly, when the fraud amount exceeds $10,000, the system doesn't just notify me. It notifies the board's audit committee. The external legal counsel, it's automatic, I can't stop it. The VP can't stop it, it's out of our hands now. You ruined me, he whispered. It sounded like he was crying. No, Kyle, I said, reaching for the button to end the call. You tried to frame the person who built the jail. You locked yourself in. I hung up. I didn't block his number. I wanted to see if he'd call back. He didn't. I sat there for a long time in the quiet of my kitchen. The adrenaline was fading, leaving me tired. Bone tired, but it was a good tired. The kind of tired you feel after you've finally cleaned out a rot that's been smelling up the house for months. I finished my wine. I patted Buster on the head. Well, I said, I guess I have to go to work on Monday. Walking into the office on Monday morning felt like walking into a cathedral after a bomb had gone off. The structure was still standing, but the stained glass was shattered and everyone was whispering prayers. The business festive decorations were still up, which added a grim irony to the scene. The tinsel looked like crime scene tape. The gangster rapper sweater was draped over the back of Braden's empty chair like a shroud. The bagel crew was gone. Their desks weren't just empty, they were sanitized. IT security, my team, technically had come in over the weekend and seized their hardware. No laptops, no monitors, just empty docks and dust outlines where their arrogance used to sit. People looked at me as I walked to my office. They didn't wave, they didn't smile. They looked at me with a mixture of terror and awe. I wasn't the dragon lady anymore. I was the Baba Yaga. I was the thing you didn't mess with because I would eat your digital soul. I sat at my desk. My coffee was hot. My inbox was full. Subject lines, HR, investigation interview request, legal evidence preservation notice. Marcus Sterling, please come see me. I took a sip of coffee, black, no sugar. I straightened my cardigan and walked to the VP's office. Marcus Sterling was a tall man with silver hair and eyes that looked like they had seen balance sheets that would make lesser men weep. He was sitting at his desk, reading a printed stack of papers. My papers, the logs, the invoices, the audit trail. He looked up when I knocked. He didn't smile, but he didn't scowl either. He gestured to the chair. Elizabeth, he said, his voice was deep, gravelly, close the door. I sat down. I didn't fidget. I had nothing to hide. I spent the weekend with General Counsel, Sterling said, tapping the stack of papers. And the external auditors, this is thorough. I try to be thorough, sir. You built this system, the Panopticon. It was a pilot program, beta test. I intended to present it next quarter as a fraud prevention tool. Well, he leaned back, taking off his glasses. Consider it launched. It certainly works. He looked at me for a long moment. Kyle is gone, terminated for cause. There will likely be criminal charges regarding the shell company. Braden and Tiffany are suspended pending investigation into their complicity. I nodded. I assumed as much. They tried to paint you as incompetent, Sterling said, almost to himself. They said you were blocking progress. But looking at this, you were the only thing keeping the walls standing. He pushed a folder across the desk. I don't need a compliance analyst anymore, Elizabeth. I need a director of internal controls. Someone who reports directly to me. No middle management, no Kyles, you have full autonomy. You build your team, you clean this place up. I looked at the folder. It was a promotion, a significant one. The kind of job that comes with a corner office and a salary that would actually pay off my mortgage. One condition, I said. Sterling raised an eyebrow. Oh, I want the budget to formalize the audit software. No more hidden scripts, I want it official. Mandatory for every department. Sales, marketing, everyone. Transparency is the only policy. Sterling cracked a smile. A real one. Done. Welcome to the new era, Director. I shook his hand. It felt solid. Walked out of his office. The floor was quiet. I looked over at the empty fishbowl where Kyle used to hold court. It was just a glass room now. I wasn't happy exactly. Happiness is for people who don't know how the sausage is made, but I was satisfied. The ledger was balanced. The error was corrected. But there was one last thing. The investigation dragged on for weeks, but the outcome was never in doubt. The company was purged. The growth hackers were hacked off the payroll. The culture shifted from move fast and break things to move carefully and don't go to jail. But I kept one souvenir. In the final audit report, the one that went to the board, there was a section I hadn't discussed with Sterling initially. It was the cherry on top of the Sunday of vengeance. See, the Panopticon didn't just record logs. It recorded audio during high-risk events. And Kyle had overridden the security protocols to authorize those payments to his mom's shell company. His laptop microphone had activated for 30 seconds to capture contextual metadata. I sat in my new office, the corner one, with a view of the city and a door that locked, and pulled up the file. I put on my headphones. Audio file, Kyle voice capture nav 12. Wow, it was scratchy but clear enough. It was Kyle talking to someone, a woman, not his mom. Don't worry, babe, once we get rid of the dragon lady, the bonus is gonna be huge. We can finally book that trip to Chalum. She's so old school, she won't even see it coming. She's practically a dinosaur, we're just speeding up extinction. And then a giggle, Tiffany's giggle, you're so bad, Kyle. I'm the future, Tiff, she's the past. I stopped the playback. The future is currently facing 3 counts of wire fraud and embezzlement. The past is sitting in a leather chair, drinking an espresso and deciding whether to fire the marketing department next. I didn't release the audio to the board. I didn't need to. That wasn't for them. That was for me. A reminder that arrogance is the ultimate vulnerability. They thought I was a dinosaur? Maybe I am, but they forgot that dinosaurs were the apex predators for millions of years. And T-Rex doesn't apologize for eating the goat. I deleted the file. Gone. Digital dust. It was 6 p.m. The office was quiet. The cleaners were starting their rounds. Maria waved at me through the glass. I waved back. I opened a new browser tab. I went to Reddit. I started typing. I overheard my team plan to expose me at the holiday party. I smiled. The screen glowed, reflecting in my glasses. You wanted an exposé, Kyle? I whispered to the empty room, lighting a mental Marlboro. Congratulations, you're the star of it. Now get off my stage. I hit post. Then I pulled up a YouTube video, Danny DeVito eating a hard-boiled egg asthma 10 hours. I put my feet up on the desk. The sound of Danny DeVito chewing filled the room. It was disgusting. It was grotesque. It was beautiful. We're all healed. End of story. Appreciate you sticking around, you legends of the break room. Subscribe for more chaos. Let's make your old managers spill their coffee in fear.